Is it true that you can interpret the words of the Bible the way you want? What if there was a dictionary included in the Bible that gives us the exact meaning of the words used? Well, in fact, there is. Every keyword or important concept is defined in the Bible like we would define it in a dictionary. It's defined by a phrase or even an illustrative story. But where do I find the dictionary in the Bible? Nature and experience teach us that the only proper way to study or investigate anything is to begin with the simple and go to the complex. To start with the fundamental, basic principle and then to develop the subject in its complexities. A glance at the history of the development of anything shows that everything we have now in our modern life sprang from something in the very simplest form. For example, consider the steam engine. From our standpoint, the very first one invented was the very embodiment of simplicity, with practically no controlling gadgets. As this most useful invention was developed, more devices were invented that tended to increase the efficiency of the engine. Today, the modern car is complexities to the highest degree. We could use many more examples to illustrate how things often start simple and increase in complexity with time. But for now, let's conclude that in order to see things as they are, we need to go to the source and to the beginning. In our Bible study, we call this the law of the first mention. The law of first mention may be said to be the principle that requires one to go to that portion of the scriptures where a doctrine is mentioned for the first time and to study the very first occurrence of the same in order to get the fundamental inherent meaning of that doctrine. Thus, by noting its setting and associations, the initial occurrence of anything in scriptures usually intimates to us how it subsequently will be employed. When we thus see the first appearance, which is usually the simplest form, we can then examine the doctrine in other portions of the word that were given later. We shall see that the fundamental concept in the first occurrence remains dominant as a rule and colors all later additions to that doctrine. In view of this fact, it becomes imperative that we understand the law of first mention. God, who invented this law, used it in His revelation and defined all important concepts or words in the first book of the Bible, the Genesis. The book of Genesis has probably been called the seed plot of the Bible. The word Genesis comes from the Greek expression which in its verbal form means to begin or to come into existence. The first book of the revelation of God is probably called, therefore, the Book of Beginnings. According to its name and its position in the canon, one naturally expects an account of beginnings of things. So let's examine a few terms and we'll see how God defines terms sometimes differently than how we use it today. For example, the word love is not used in its first mention to describe the relationship of a husband and wife, but a father-son relationship. This may be counterintuitive, and only in the New Testament it will be dismantled why this is of utmost importance for the human race and the entire universe. Secondly, we can analyze the word blood and discover that it is not just a red, life-sustaining liquid for God. It's mentioned in Genesis 4:10, and we learn that it cries to God. So we see that blood speaks. All the innocent blood of murdered people is not forgotten. It still speaks to God today. Thirdly, we can go to the very first words of the Bible and find the word God. He's the one at the beginning, and He creates everything. But furthermore, He's plural there, Elohim. So we learn that God in His essence is plural. Only as the truth unfolds, we understand that He is one in being and plural in persons. These are just a few examples of the law of first mention, but we need to be careful. The Bible is not a cookbook where you can mechanically apply a rule to each situation and verse. The Bible is a living word and therefore needs to be studied with total dependence upon God. So pray and go dig out some first mention treasures for your soul. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you think we earned your subscription and you want to learn more from the Bible with Crosspaint, please subscribe to the channel. Please leave a comment below and give it a thumbs up if you liked the video. This will improve the video's ranking and give the possibility to many more people to see it. Thank you so much for your support and God bless.